The Nikon ZR is such an amazing concept for a wannabe filmmaker such as myself. Look, for the longest time, I remember when I was a kid, I was watching NKPHD's videos and he talked about red cameras, and I just fell in love with the idea of a real cinematic camera by Red. I know I couldn't afford it, but I always really wanted a red camera. Then here comes along Nikon with this amazing camera which has red codec. It's a full frame camera, it's 6K red raw, it's a 4-inch screen, which means you don't need a monitor, all for the price of $2,200 US, which is significantly cheaper than buying an actual red camera, and it's actually half the price of the Sony FX3, which is the dream camera. I looked at a lot of reviews. I had an A7500 at the time. I was going to Japan, and I really wanted to take advantage of the camera prices there because it's a lot cheaper there than in America. I mean, I always wanted to upgrade a full frame, and I thought it was no better time to do that. So after anticipating buying the Nikon ZR for so many months, watching every single YouTube video there was about it, I sold my Sony camera, I went to Japan, and I came out with a Sony A75. So why did I end up buying another Sony camera instead of buying the Nikon ZR? Well, let's be honest, the Nikon ZR just seems too good of a camera to be true. And to be honest, it is. It was a very personal decision by me to not buy the Nikon ZR, even though I wanted it for so many reasons. I just came down to the conclusion that it just wasn't the camera for me as of yet. Okay, let's talk about the first reason. It is way too powerful to make full use. Look, I'm a nerdy guy and a gearhead, and I really thought, you know, in my head, the Nikon ZR, it shoots 6K red raw. It's gonna be so useful. And on paper, it is just a better camera than the FX3, especially for the price. And even the A75, which is the camera I'm shooting on right now, on paper, the Nikon ZR is a higher spec camera than the A75. Again, on paper, 6K is better than 4K. But then I started to think about it. I'm a student, and I'm also not a professional, and I make YouTube videos for the most part. I don't think I will ever be able to take full advantage of 6K. Even if I am shooting a short film, I think for the most part, I think I'll be okay with 4K. I mean, how often are you uploading 6K footage to YouTube anyway? Not only that, editing 6K is just abysmal. It's just not gonna be as easy to edit 4K. And almost all the things I post are on social media like Instagram and TikTok, and they all get compressed to 1080p anyway. So yeah, 6K just kind of seems like, okay, I'm probably not gonna use it that much. That already kind of ruins one of the selling points. Okay, but we got red raw, you know, 6K red raw. If I really want to shoot 6K red raw, movie footage, it's gonna be great. You can change the white balance in post, you can change all the colors. Red's color science is amazing. But how much storage does it take to shoot in red raw? Holy shit. Okay, that's horrible. If you want to buy, okay, well, that's not good. What about, okay, what if I just buy a huge card? 2 terabytes of what if I just buy a 2 terabyte SD card? It doesn't take SD. Okay, that's not good. Okay, it takes micro SD. Oh, but okay, it doesn't even take micro SD for the red raw. So I have to get a CF Express Type B. Okay, how expensive is that? Oh my God, bro. What the price? Okay, so not only did you already spend 2.2K on the body, you had to spend about $600 on just memory. So that's not good. And with that 2 terabytes, I can shoot 1 hour of footage at 6K 60, which is not long, especially if you want to do a lot of slow-mo. Well, that's not happening. Okay, well, I mean, at least we have H.265. Even though you bought it for the red codec, you can shoot in H.265. What? Oh, the H.265 looks like shit? Nah, that's not good. I guess I can shoot an NRAW. Then I bought just a Nikon camera now, not really a red camera. At least I got a big screen. You're saying I only have 3 custom buttons? Oh, and the exposure tools don't really work. What? You start to see where I'm going with this take. It has a lot of great design decisions that also are not practical. Also, the ergonomics don't make much sense to me. It is a super thin body with absolutely zero grip. I understand being thin for the sake of being thin is nice. However, having some grip so you don't drop the body and lose the camera instantly is also nice. There's an argument of just buying a cage with a grip on it, but not everyone wants to put a cage on the camera all the time. Like, I didn't use any cage on my A75 the whole trip when I was in Japan, and I never dropped it once. You know why? Because the grip on the camera is just so good. Also, the micro SD card thing is just super stupid. I don't understand why professional cinema camera is using micro SD instead of just SD. I understand why I use a CF Express Type B. It is extremely expensive storage though, I won't lie. But I understand that. I don't understand why the alternative is just a micro SD. I think Express Type A or just a SD card would have been great. But you know what? Actually, I don't know. 6K red raw is just so big that it's just not worth using unless you're shooting specific like storyboard planned out shots. So this becomes less of like an everyday pick up and go camera than a very dedicated cinema camera that you just keep for specific shots and less usable as a normal camera. Even though it's affordably priced as a normal camera and you're giving it a slimmer body, so it should be a more portable camera. You see where I'm going with this? A lot of designs don't make sense. And the main last reason for me is personally is that it's a video focused camera. And I mean, I love taking videos more than I like taking photos. Let's be honest. But I still like taking photos, and I wanted a flexible camera to do that. The Nikon ZR is video focused first, which is completely fine, but it has no mechanical shutter, which for fast moving targets, a mechanical shutter is kind of more desired. The reason I picked the A75 as well is that the A75 can do photos and videos just as good, if not better, especially if we're talking about specifically the H.265, which just looks like shit on the Nikon ZR. And Sony always had good H.265. I'd argue that my A6700 has way better H.265 than the Nikon ZR. Not only that, Sony has better autofocus still, and of course Sony has a creator app. The monitor control app is always getting updated. Plus, this camera has a higher base ISO, which is really nice. Having 8000 as your base ISO compared to 6400 is still a pretty big difference. To add insult to injury, Nikon has still not made any promises on fixing any of the issues that the ZR currently has, whether it's the bad exposure tools, no mention of a smaller red codec, like a better compression codec, because you know how gigantic those file sizes are, especially since we're in an economy where SD cards are like considered a luxury at this point. Like, they're not getting any cheaper, and trying to record 6K red raw is a cost you have to think about when buying that camera. I didn't really have to think that much about buying that much SD card space for my A75 because it just uses SD cards and SCF Express Type A. The only update that the ZR ever got was just to update. You can edit your red files in Final Cut Pro and then color grade in DaVinci anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Look, at the end of the day, I think the Nikon ZR is still a really cool camera to have. And I think if anyone bought it, hopefully you're not regretting it, because I mean, hopefully Nikon comes around, but Nikon hasn't really said anything yet. I can't really help you with that one. But the thing is, if you bought the ZR, you bought into a first gen type product. It is the first of its kind, and the first always has bugs. Remember the Galaxy Fold? That had a bunch of bugs when it first came out, but the second and third iteration, they kind of nailed it. And I'm hoping by the next iteration, the Nikon ZR is the camera that everyone was thinking about. Because if there's any buyer advice to get, I think I heard it from MKBHD, buy into what it is now and not buy into what it could be later. It's also the same relationship advice I give to all my friends. And right now the ZR is still a product in the making. Who knows where it'll be in a year or two, but I'd rather buy Sony's 5th attempt at a hybrid camera than the first prosumer camera of Nikon for cinematographers. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a weird one for some people who normally see my content. And don't worry, I'll be making vlogs soon. I just haven't really had the time to with the content stuff. This was just a more sit down, easy to make video. Vlogs take a little more time. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, like and follow for more.